Hello class, let's talk now about what I like to call the Magnificent Seven. 7 characteristics of research that readers of research look for, generally, and your professors, when you propose and put together your concept paper and your proposal for your doctoral dissertations, will definitely look for. This is not to say that these characteristics must be there in every study, but these are the kind of things that if considered, help make your study effective and maybe more engaging for you, more interesting for you. Some of them are expected, and others are just maybe recommendations. Let's start with these Magnificent Seven. The first is a great first sentence. I don't know how many research papers I've read, maybe you've read, that start off with the word "the." Right there, you lost your audience. Start off with something dynamic, not silly like suddenly a shot rang out, but something that encapsulates in a sentence what your study's all about. That may be hard to do when you're trying to encapsulate or understand the study yourself, and obviously you may do some revisions as your study unfolds, but a great first sentence. Let me just read one to you. Here's one that came out of the Review of Educational Research about a student's doctoral dissertation. Here we go. Teachers exercise power in the classroom in a number of subtle ways, and Ms. Crawford was the best. Now, I've always liked to say that the first sentence, once you get a good first sentence, the next 5,000 are easy, but also the last sentence. Here's the last sentence that goes with that first sentence. Proximity, gestures, and short, targeted, and specific statements were used successfully by Miss Crawford to demonstrate her control and power in her first grade classroom. Well, now, don't you want to read the rest of the study after reading those two sentences? Here's one more quick one. Luck and mystery have long been associated with the number 7. This is a journal article about team building in elementary schools, number 7. And here's the last sentence. When student learning groups of 7 are formed, either by happenstance or by direct teacher involvement, the influence of the learning group is maximized as contrasted to groups of smaller or larger numbers. Well, right there you've got the bookends for what seems to be an interesting and probably well done research study. So, a great first sentence, something to think about, not when you start to write, but as you write, think about how you're going to take that idea that you're doing your research on and put it into a good first sentence. Next is a theory base. It's something that I think in all your methods classes and other classes everybody tells you to do, but maybe we don't understand where our theory base fits into our study ourselves. A theory base basically tells us that my individual study fits somewhere. It isn't studying the entire theory, it's studying a piece of the theory, a part of this theory. I like to use the analogy, I may even put this video in there, of a mosaic. A mosaic is made out of tiles. A research study is analogous to a tile in a mosaic. Theory base is the pattern or the image or the picture of the mosaic itself. One of the most often used and most effective theories for those of us in instructional technology and distance education is Everett Rogers' Diffusion of Innovations. I recommend you get yourself a copy of this book. It's an interesting read for a research book, and you can get it on Amazon for a few dollars. I recommend you get this and look through it, because this is the theory base most often used by students in instructional technology and distance education. Next, correct definitions. Well, there's a video on this in this module that talks about definitions, but you'd be surprised how many people use incorrect definition. They make up the definition of distance education, for example, rather than using what the literature has agreed upon is the most precise definition. So make sure that when you're writing, you know what your field's definition of those phenomena, those ideas, those concepts that you're studying. Standardized measures, well, we talk about that in your methods classes, but measures that have reliability data, validity data, have been maybe tested in other studies, especially if it's quantitative information, have normative data you can compare it to, like IQ. If your IQ is 140, you probably have a higher IQ than somebody with 120, and you can probably figure out the relevance of that. Well, that's what a standardized measure is. Even in qualitative research, using reflective questioning strategies that are questions that have been tested and have been demonstrated as questions that will reveal answers that are meaningful to your research studies. Comprehensive literature review, and one that's interesting. A literature review, believe it or not, ought to be interesting to read, because that's where you learn about what the field knows about the phenomena that you're studying. So don't just go through the motions, but try to make it an interesting and well-referenced, well-cited review of that literature. A clear method that is cited. In one of our other videos in this series, I'm talking about citations, and I'm talking about the tools that you use, the cookbooks, if you would, that allow you to move through the steps in your method of inquiry related to your research questions that will allow you to have, and what's at the end here, generalizable results. Research studies that do not have generalizable results, in other words, where you can take the results of your particular investigation and make some inferences, generalizations, to other groups. If your study does not do that, there's a strong likelihood that it may not be accepted by your committee. So we need to think about, how am I going to talk about other media specialists or other trainers or other hospital administrators based upon the kinds of results that my study produces. Well, this is the Magnificent Seven. This isn't all what we look for, but these are some benchmarks for you to be thinking about as you begin to think about the study that you want to conduct, and as you are trying to convince others that your idea is worthy of a doctoral dissertation that they're going to be thinking about as they consider your ideas. Good luck, and this will be fun. It is fun.